Welcome to FoxEncounter. I am your host, Fox. Please consider taking a few seconds to subscribe, drop a like on the video, and share it with your friends. Stay tuned for more content and enjoy the episode.
And now, suspense.
Here's a fun one. Do you have a favorite movie?
I do. So my all-time favorite movie is White Christmas. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's an old-timey Christmas movie that I fell in love with as a kid, and I watched it. I used to watch it like on repeat during Christmas. I'd watch it like 30 times every year. It's just my go-to. And I always go back to that one. I love it. It's great. The singing and dancing and story and all of it's beautiful. Have you seen it? Are you familiar?
Okay, yeah, so I am familiar with it, but I don't think I've seen it. For some reason, my brain just doesn't think anything older than the 70s. Like, my brain just is like, I can't comprehend it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just like too far away. To be fair, I'm not like a huge old movie buff. It's pretty much just White Christmas and Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. They're like my favorites.
I feel like for people around my age, a lot of their favorite movies are like from the 80s.
Yeah.
I always say this, but I feel like the 80s when it comes to film was just like a lawless time. Like it's just like anything goes.
Anything, yeah.
And you could just literally
the 90s a bit too.
Yeah, like early 90s, like 80s, early 90s, like you could literally make a movie about anything and no one would question it. It's just like, two kids make a live woman with a little doll out of lightning and stuff. Weird science. I went to film school for a bit. Worst decision of my life.
Why?
Because it did teach me a lot, but in a way it kind of ruined my enjoyment for watching movies because I'm just so critical of them. Yeah. I'll just be watching something and be like, I don't like that. Or I'll just pick apart little things. So it just like killed any enjoyment that I have for movies. Don't like that, or like that
How did
doesn't
that become a movie?
Yeah. Or like, that doesn't hold up very well. I have like I'm kind of known for having very unpopular opinions when it comes to movies.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of them I will say, like, I've told people, like, I don't think a lot of 80s movies have held up very well. I do appreciate them because they are a product of their time and you can't really fault them for that. But at the same time, we can also call it what it is. And we can say that, like, there's some stuff in a lot of 80s movies that have to do with, like gender roles or things that have to do with racism or homophobia. Yeah. Say, that's just how it was. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't make it okay.
Yeah. I definitely struggle a lot with that too. It's like, especially when you have kids, right? And you want to show your kids these great, famous, big movies, and then you put it on, you're like, oh my God, don't listen to that. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like that's where I am too right now with my son who's 9 years old. I will show him older movies that I used to love as a kid. And sometimes you'll get the like, you'll see that they're enjoying it and you're like, yes. And other times it'll be the opposite effect where they're just like, this is boring. Like what, And luckily when I showed him The Lord of the Rings, he loved it. Like he loved
nice.
The Lord of the Rings. So I was like, yes, thank you.
See, I'm a big fan of Jurassic Park and like the original Jurassic Parks. I do love the first Jurassic World. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking. Yeah,
Jurassic World.
The newer ones. I thought the first one was really like just funny and silly, and I liked that. And the second one, and then when the third one was coming out in theater, I got really excited and wanted to take Roger to go see it. And everyone was like, "You can't take your 5-year-old to go see a dinosaur movie." I was like, "Can't you? Like he's a pretty old 5-year-old." So I was like, okay, well, I'll like do a little movie marathon with them and show them to them. Cause like every kid I think is so different. And sure enough, like we watched the first Jurassic Park and like, I was worried, like the scary part, I was kind of watching him, like if when the dinosaur is like going with the kids, and you're just like, oh, and like he was totally fine. He's like, yeah, no, that's not real. He's like, that wouldn't happen. It was scary. He's like, I don't think I want to go to that dino park. He's like, I know it's not real, but let's not go there. But yeah, so I think it just depends on the kids and the movie.
We
Yeah.
had actually talked about that, right? Like with the Jurassic Park thing.
Did we?
I think so. Because Jurassic Park's actually the very first movie I remember ever seeing.
Oh yeah,
And
that's
yeah,
right.
and it like it scared me so much when when the T-Rex is like trying to eat the kids. Like I remember
Right.
that in my head, just like freaking me out as a kid.
Yeah, it was the first movie I saw in theaters.
Yeah, so yeah, that
Yeah,
we did talk about that because
yeah.
it was also
And
that was the first
I
movie I
was
saw in
too
theaters.
young. My cousin snuck me into it, and I was the youngest of my cousins, and but I mean, I now really like the movies, so I think
Mhm.
I was okay. Maybe a little scarred, but I
You'll be
haven't seen
fine.
the latest one though. I've been told not to
Mhm.
because
Um,
I guess it's
yeah,
I'm
I
pretty disappointed, and I'm sure I will see it, but I guess I'm in no rush anymore, which is sad because I was really excited. They're like, see it, you'll be so disappointed.
yeah. Um, that's the thing that people find odd about me is that I find enjoyment. Like I said, I find enjoyment in pretty much anything. Like I just love movies so
Did you
much.
like it? Did you like
Um,
it?
I enjoyed it, but I get
Mhm.
that's the other thing about me is that I'm very like in the middle of everything. I'm not a yes,
Yeah.
no, hate it, love it kind of person.
Mhm.
I always ride the middle
Yeah.
because like I said, being someone who has gone to film school, I'm like, I get what they're going for, but I also
Yeah.
understand why people wouldn't like this.
Yeah.
Like I said, being someone who watches films for what they are and I don't have any kind of nostalgia, I think
Yeah.
nostalgia just kills everything. Nostalgia is a bad thing, in my opinion. In my opinion, nostalgia just kills everything because when you have that, you go into something that's, like I said, more modern. Times have changed. You can't expect
Mhm.
something, especially if it's a franchise from 30 or so years ago. You can't
Yeah.
expect it to be the same because the
Can't
climate
be
has
the same
changed.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything has changed. The world has changed. It's
Yeah.
not the same as it was. Even if it's a franchise that I love, I don't go into it going, okay, I expect this to be exactly like the movie I saw when I was a kid. It's like, no,
Right.
that's not going to happen.
It's unrealistic. You're just setting
Mhm.
yourself up for disappointment.
Exactly. That's why I go into everything just as blank as possible and I watch it and examine it for what it is. And if I don't like it, I don't go on the internet and just like cry about it. Like that's just so easy for people that I see a
It's
lot of
so
people
easy for
do.
people to
They
do.
just like go on the internet. It's like I hated this, and I mean I'll come
Yeah.
up with an example right now, and I hope that is no one who's worked on this like hates me for it, but but I just have to be honest with myself. The most recent thing that I saw was the Willow series on Disney Plus.
Okay.
I love Willow, the
Yeah.
film. I think it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Nice.
But the TV show is nothing like the movie. And I
Right.
understand what they were going for. Like I said, it's a more modern audience, but
Hmm.
I feel like the essence of the character and the essence of the story was not there.
It was lost.
Yeah. And I think mostly has to do with the writing. I don't blame like any of the actors. They did what they could with the material that they're given, and that's really all you can do as a
Hmm.
performer is just take what you're given and do the best you can.
Hmm.
So I feel like the writing really suffered because they're trying to relate to a more younger audience, has a very older audience that loves it. So trying
Hmm.
to appeal to a younger audience that has no kind of connection to it is
Right.
kind of a bad thing because like you're
We
throwing
still
in.
count too.
Yeah.
As old folks, there's
Yeah.
still people too, and there's a lot of us.
Because they're the ones I feel like a lot of times what franchises do to hurt the series is sure it's great to appeal to a younger audience, but at the same time you can't alienate the ones who made it popular in the first place. That's what a lot of franchises I feel like do as well as they bring back a legacy character and it's like, oh, here you go, like here's your legacy character, but it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, but I don't care about any of the other characters. Like I want to
Who's your
care
legacy
about
character
everyone.
in a totally different situation and environment, and it's like,
Mhm.
oh, well,
But I can also see it as a business
mhm,
because I also went to school for business.
right,
So I look at it from both ends. I'm like, oh, okay, as someone who's creating, art or whatever, this is great. But as someone who, from a business point as well, I
yeah,
can see why they would do certain things.
yeah. That's interesting. I think that's a whole new field too in the indie film for me, or in
Mhm.
just the film industries. I just did a workshop on like budgeting film and the business side of it. And it's like learning about that is, I feel like, just so important. And
Mhm.
like if this is the industry that you're going to be in, you should understand how it all works.
Yeah.
Because like business in movies is very important.
It is just a casual watcher, the casual lover of film. They kind of see that side of filmmaking kind of as like the ooh, I don't want to look at that, or I don't want to,
Yeah.
let's just keep that. Let's just pretend that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I just fill my screen.
It can be, ugly at times, but it's also very necessary.
Hmm. It's extremely necessary and can be very helpful if that's what your career is going to be.